So appreciate your time. And when I looked at your LinkedIn profile, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurship. I would say in the area of green energy in the area of um, you know, it's a more of energy as far as I've seen. And you've started recently a company, like you've run it for the last, I would say, almost 2 years. So that was the reason. Actually, I was just curious to know more about your entrepreneurship history, because it seems like it's a lot, and there are a lot that you can share in terms of experience, education, lessons learned. And the reason why I'm recording this is because I want to publish it later on YouTube and share it with all my network. My network, it's all entrepreneurs from all North Africa region, those who are looking to start their entrepreneurship initiatives, whether they're still in the idea stage or they have started already and they're running their startup between 3 to 5 years. So it's more of a sharing experience. You have a lot of experience, extensive experience, and I'm only a channel for you just to share these experiences and spread it out.
Okay, perfect. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
problem. Happy to contribute.
Appreciate it. So just a quick brief about who I am. My name is Mustafa. You can call me Mo. I'm based in Cairo, Egypt, and I was writing entrepreneurship success stories. I was meeting entrepreneurs for a year and a half. I was writing their success stories, sharing their lessons learned, experience, education. And then eventually what I decided is, instead of writing articles, I want to do face-to-face interview. People love to see and watch videos. And that's why we're doing this series of interviews. So I've met many people from the US, Europe, as well as Africa to speak about their success stories. And so today is yours.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, feel free to start. So just if you don't mind, can you just to start with?
Yeah. What is the just clean.
Yeah, that's fine.
What is the where would you like me to start from? My background, where I started, and
yeah, I mean, eventually, like your entrepreneurship experience in terms of work experience, education, how you ended up being an entrepreneur, some of the lessons learned. Where do you want to take your next initiative? Like how you want to expand it, any opportunities from the North African people, maybe to be involved in a project like that, or maybe take a franchise or have a chapter, like whatever you want to share or you feel comfortable with.
Okay, very good. All right, that's fine. I can get started. No problem.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you can start right now.
Okay, so basically, first of all, as you know, my name is Riccardo Segat. I am Italian, and I am an entrepreneur, and I basically focus all my entrepreneurial life on the environment. So for the last 18 years, I built, four different businesses, and the last one that you see on LinkedIn is ReGen Future Capital, which is really the fifth one. Mm-hmm. And I'm starting from Ampere Solar to basically develop a completely new business model. Okay. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute. In terms of my experience, I basically started my life with a difficult upbringing. I lost my parents. I was very young, and I have, during that period of time, I basically went through a significant trauma that really pushed me to wanting to achieve, and it was sort of through the pain that I really got the motivation to move on and to try to basically, build something. And and that motivation really was very strong. I did my studies at Bocconi and did 10 years of corporate America, between Merrill Lynch, GE Capital, and some global investors, Compass Partners. So I did 10 years of strong SA experience, and where I learned the trick of the trades, and then I started my entrepreneurial career because I wanted to work for myself. I always thought that life in big corporates was a bit tight for me, and there was probably sometimes a bit too much politics, and there was not enough focus on actually develop new ideas and new businesses. And so I needed a bit more space. As a result, I started, I became an entrepreneur. And, and at the beginning, it's really difficult. I started with very little. And at the time, I was married with one son, and we basically sold the house and put everything we had into the business, and hoping that it was going to be okay. And so I started, basically, I started doing a bit of advisory, and started getting the first fee, a little bit of liquidity to basically build my capital, because that's how the build-up of initial capital is also tricky. It's how to build it. And so I went into advisory and introducing deals at the beginning. I made my initial fee there, and then basically I had this sequence of businesses where I was involved at the beginning as part of the team, and then more in a lead position, founder, CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And so I basically built 3 different businesses. One was, I was involved in 3 different businesses. One was Emma Filter Group, which was an industrial filtration business. The other one was Maxstratic Green Energy, where we started from scratch with a number of other partners. And the third one was in ReGen Group, which was a platform on the wastewater treatment industry. And again, I bought a company that was in financial trouble, and it was listed on NASDAQ. And through a Chapter 11 process, we managed to, take out the bits that really made sense to keep, and then on the back of that, we rebuilt the business, with a team, and then, so all these businesses, I basically built them.
You built them in Italy or in UK?
I think it was internationally, really. I mean, some of them were in the Netherlands and France. Some, the first one, for example, Australian Energy was in Italy. The wastewater treatment business was between Europe and the US.
Mm-hmm.
And the solar business was primarily in Italy. We also had a bit of exposure in Asia, and where we tried, a couple of different markets. But I would say always internationally. So I am Italian, but all these businesses were, across the globe.
Awesome.
And and so that's really sort of where I started. And to be honest, every time I was really motivated by making money. So
of course,
most of the time it was really.
Did you seek any investors?
Really
how was it, like generating? Like, did you generate income, or did you seek investors? Like, how was it?
Most of the time, to start with, I had to basically raise the third-party money because I really didn't have much money. So I used my skill to raise private. At the beginning it was private individuals' money, and then private equity, and then infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So fundamentally, what happened is that I always put a bit of my money in, and then I raise third-party money, institutional money. So that's really how I built every single business. And
when the time comes, like, did you think about, like area before? Did you have any incubation or accelerator, whether in Italy or in UK, where you started?
No, what I really realized at the time where I spent at GE is that there were a number of businesses that really had a very strong long-term potential. At the time we were looking at possible possible businesses that could become a division of GE. And so I started really looking at, some of these sectors. When I started on my own, I really saw the environment as the area where to focus on, because I said there is so much to do there that I'm sure I'm going to be very busy. And then, through my network, I really started collecting some potential ideas, and this is really how it started. So when I actually left the corporate world, I didn't have a specific idea. I said, I'm just going to leave and spend a bit of time, doing a bit of consulting, but also thinking about, using my network to generate the first business that I'm going to, be involved with.
And then
So that's
how was it like launching the idea, talking to your network, seeking money maybe from friends and family? Like, was it like? Can you share a little bit about this journey specifically this time? Yeah.
I mean, the journey of an entrepreneur is a roller coaster. So, it's if you are faint-hearted, it's not it's not recommended. So, during most of my time, I basically never, during the 18 years, I rarely got a salary. During this period, there was no really fixed compensation. Everything that I was making was driven by capital gain. So it's tough, it's difficult, but it builds resilience, it builds, strength. And it's very important to be motivated, to really get this started. But if you believe enough in your capabilities, if you believe enough in the strength of your network and experience, I think it is worthwhile, because it's a wonderful experience. But it is, a moment it is difficult, because it's difficult, especially at the beginning, because you're not using a name, you're not using Merrill Lynch, you're not using GE Capital,
I see.
It's you and your names.
It's your name at the end of the day. And then how was it? How was it strong? How strong was the entrepreneurship ecosystem at that time?
I think there was plenty of initiative, and I think in the environment in the last 10 years there has been plenty of development. But what I could see is that in some areas, for example, in water, it was very fragmented, that there was the opportunity to consolidate. In other areas, like in renewable energy, there was a lot of potential for growth in a specific area, like in Italy, for example, where the incentive really pushed a significant growth in the sector. And so, because there was a scarcity, a lack of independent platform, I saw the opportunity of creating one with potentially the idea of selling it with some strategic value. And at the time, a few years later. So that's really how how I sort of went about it. And I think all of those skills I really learned during my years in the corporate world.
I see.
Because,
and then was it easy to expand the company, maybe to go to a different region, and how is it like being an entrepreneur in the European region? Like, is it challenging? Is it easy? Like,
I think every market is very different. Every market is very different. But I would say that, especially when we talk about this, variety market, when we talk about industrial filtration, wastewater treatment, renewable energy, every market is very, very different. But I think an initial focus is important. And, because at the end of the day, an entrepreneur always works with limited resources. So you have to make something out of nothing. And that's the trick, that's the trick. So where do you start from? Where do you, and when you raise the money, again, because you don't have a name behind, you need to find people that really trust you. And I think that's always has been, challenging. But I would say, overall, this has been a significant, a significant positive experience. But I would say that what I realized, and I think this is probably the most important part of it, is that it's not just me, but I think in general, what I really saw was that, what was driving me was just making money. And the problem of that is that once you get to a point where you reach your goal and you say, okay, I made some money. Okay, I have now a family. I now have achieved what you feel like you feel like you're arrived. But what happened to me is that at that point I still felt a sense of emptiness. Yeah? And so, I was basically this little kid that was trying to prove himself, that was trying to basically earn money, that was trying to have a family, that was trying to all of these things. But fundamentally, I still felt empty. The reason why I felt empty is because my objective was money. Yeah? There was no purpose. So if I have to go back and start again, and if I have to give some suggestions to people that are really starting to build a company, the first thing I would do is to try to define a purpose. And I will probably even start from yourself, you as a person. Define your purpose and then the purpose of your business. Because I think that, the purpose is why you're doing it. And clearly you're going to use all your skills and all your network. But a business without a purpose, it's empty.
What
like
can you give an example of like what kind of purpose could be like? Can you just
okay,
share
so
an example?
I'm just gonna give you my personal experience
Yeah,
because
of
that's what I
course.
share here today. So what happened at the end of this experience was that yes, I basically moved from when I was a kid, when I finished my studies, I was a kid with very little money to Monaco, sitting on a nice yacht and with a reasonable amount of money in my pocket. But again, this sense of emptiness was pervading, right? And so that took me also to a personal crisis, addiction, all of these things that really sort of caused me a significant personal challenge. But it was also what really pushed me to find a purpose. And when we say a purpose, it's really saying why we are doing all of this. Yeah? And so, for example, why are we doing solar, right? And so, into my personal development, I learned that making money is not enough. And I think what I learned as a person is that I was a little kid that was disconnected because I was traumatized, I was fearful, I was, and so the only thing that was driving me was money, rather than actually love for the people. Right? And so it's very important that I actually mention love because when people say, okay, but you're doing business, love, what does it mean? Well, I think what it means is actually, it means to find a business that serves. It means to find a business that serves the community, that serves the market, that is giving back something to society, not just necessarily making money. So, for example, the reason, initially what I really saw it was that Ampere Solar, or Ampere Energy, which was really a solar development business, could potentially give or gift a portion of the profit back to nature, for example. And when I'm talking nature, I'm talking about natural capital. If you look at the pie of the CO2 emission, there's 25% that is the way we are powering our economy, and the other 25% is really deforestation and solar regeneration and farming, really. And in the first ecosystem, there's a lot of money going in because it makes money. It's got a full financial return. But then the other two, there's very little money. Why? Because it doesn't make money yet.
True.
Right? Now, so what I was trying to say is that, this is how we came out with the investment loop at ReGen Future Capital. This is how I came out with the next idea, is that how can I serve, how can I give back something to nature? How can I give back something to,
What's
in a way, sorry. Go ahead.
No, keep going.
So basically, if you look at the if you look at the model that we are basically developing, is we are developing now 7.5 gigawatt of solar energy business between Brazil and Denmark, and then the profits that we receive from those solar plants will go into regeneration of natural capital. And so we're talking about forest, soil, and ocean.
Yeah.
Now, that will basically generate a carbon credit. That carbon credit at the moment, it doesn't really have a market, or has a market that is not transparent enough, or it's not good enough. But fundamentally, it's what is needed to find a solution to climate change. Because if you're going to continue to think the same way, you're not going to get to a different result. Yeah, that's the definition of madness we talked about. So we need to think a bit differently, out of the box, and have the courage to do the right thing. And the right thing is to invest money in nature to regenerate our natural capital. It's not just to do more solar energy per se. So we need to identify a business model that goes from a linear model into a circular model. It's the blue economy model. Okay, so how do we go from one to the other? Well, what we say is that we use a ReGen loop. We use a regeneration loop. We use a strong ecosystem to basically fund a weaker one, weaker from a financial point of view, right? Because it doesn't really make the money that it should be doing at the moment. And then you need to do it at scale, because scale is important, and over the long term. So the problem is that every time we try to do something, it's always the next quarter, the next month, the next year. No, we're talking about 10, 20, 30 years. If you take a long-term view of what we are doing, the carbon market has to happen. Yeah, the carbon market has to happen for the survival of humanity. We're not just talking about a little idea or a little. We're talking about the survival of humanity. So that's really what we try to do, is we try to do something different. So ReGen Future Capital is a non-for-profit. Yeah? It's owned by a foundation, an Austrian foundation, and under that there will be an entire circle system that will make a lot of money. Okay, so all the dividends, all the profits that will be generated by the system will stay in the system. And I'm not going to be the owner. I'm not going to try to build the next unicorn or Microsoft or whatever you want to call it. No, I'm going to try to build something different to leave to future generations. And that is something that gives me fulfillment. Yeah, it's a way to give back that works. It's a way to give back that makes money, right? So there is nothing back there than being able to make money by giving back. I mean, and I think this system is really something that allows us to do that. So I will be paid a consideration that it will be a reasonable consideration, and as a founder of ReGen Future Capital. But fundamentally, all the profit will be there, and all the capital that I'm going to be raising through donations, at ReGen Future Capital level, or through my own capital, will stay there ad infinitum. I mean, almost like our ReGen group. I mean, that's really what we're trying to say, and so that's really something that I think is different. That's what makes us unique, as a model. And ideally, what we want to do is replicate this in all different geographies, because it's an open system that is replicable.
Yeah, that was actually my next question.
Right.
Do you want to duplicate the same model in Africa specifically? This is where farming, solar panels, agriculture, and environment, matters here.
Yeah, the answer is yes. And I think what we've done is, at the moment we are looking at, we started from South America, so we are in Brazil developing 6 gigawatts of solar power. That will generate approximately 300 million of dividends, and that is money that will go into the Amazon forest, to regenerate the Amazon. Now, why we're starting from there? It's also because the Amazon is probably the largest asset that we have. It's a treasure, right? And so what we're going to try to do is to work with the local, tribes and government and and the local players to really try to regenerate the Amazon. That's really the purpose.
What could be a challenge? What could be the challenges that might face you to expand in other regions?
Well, I think the model itself is basically exactly the same. So a solar plant is a solar plant a little bit everywhere. Clearly, the permitting is basically the same. Yeah, I think for what I consider the commercially viable technology, so the last part of the loop is fundamentally always the same. It's a bit of permitting process, so it shouldn't really be a big problem. On the right hand side, we may face a little bit more, let's say, pressure. In some situation, people don't want to necessarily regenerate the soil or reforest. There's a different political agenda. But the beautiful thing about our model is that whatever we originate in this system, money travels. So if, for example, I'm just giving as a pure example, if in Brazil we won't be able to proceed with our plan, well, we'll take the money, we'll put it into Africa. Yeah. So we'll expand like water. We'll expand where they're gonna basically welcome us and give us the land to plant as many trees as possible, where it's possible to do regeneration. This is why it is an international global program that builds local loops, right?
Awesome.
So that's in Africa, clearly is at the center of our strategy. Now, we probably are not going to get to Africa, I would say, during 2021, because I think we have a lot to do in South America to start with, and a few initiatives in Europe. But I would say that, it's definitely part of the plan. So I would probably say that from what I can see today, Africa is probably going to be 2022. And I think what it's going to allow us to do is to actually build the model, prove it, and then replicate it. So hopefully it will be, faster to,
Interesting.
to roll out. And again, this is why I think in Africa this is going to be very appealing, because what we're going to try to do is we're going to talk directly to different governments, and propose a total solution. Because we are not just there to do one thing, but we are going to be there to do a number of different things that are going to be connected to each other to also create a massive social benefit. Because a portion of this profit will also go into social programs. So we always say that, for us, we don't look at everything just with profit, but it's people, planet, and profit.
If someone is listening to this right now and they are from the North Africa countries, maybe Cairo, Egypt, and they want to replicate the model, they're interested in what you're sharing, and they want to have this in their home country. What they have to do, they should communicate to you through LinkedIn, for instance, and share an interest or something like that.
Yeah, I think if you have a good network in Africa, and it starts from, it's very important. It starts from an honest intent of creating something different in the country that would represent a total solution for energy waste, a carbon program, and have a good network and a contact at the right level. I think we are the right people to talk to. So they should contact us through LinkedIn, and we can actually start a conversation, because as you know, from the moment where you start the conversation to the moment where you start building the first plan, it takes a little while. So we can explain what we're doing, we can explain what is needed, and then as we go along in our rollout, we can basically move forward together. But we are looking for partners, because this is a collaborative model. We ain't gonna be able to do this by ourselves.
Yeah, that's why I've asked. Yeah. And that's why I've asked because someone is interested in watching the video, and then they're interested in replicating the model and have your company in their home country. So that's why they're gonna communicate to you through LinkedIn, and absolutely, it's gonna be and amazing that we connect people together, and that's what the purpose of this. At the end, I would love to give you a chance to ask me a question if you have any.
Have you seen a similar model to what we've been discussing?
I've never, in terms of the people I've met, the people I've talked to, and the people I've worked with, I've never seen such a thing before. And everything that I've seen regarding to agriculture or farming or solar panels, it's more, I would say, I wouldn't say more of a unique type of, I wouldn't say unique, I would say more of a traditional type of ideas. Nothing really can be scalable or maybe replicated in another region. But for your case, it's quite a bit different, and I would definitely encourage you to keep moving forward in that. And I'm happy that I am within the region and within the continent of Africa, where many people interested will be interested in what you're offering, and definitely, and I hope they will contact you on LinkedIn as I did, and I know that you're responding quickly, and yeah, you're taking that serious.
Very good. Well, the only thing I can say thank you for giving me the time
Absolutely.
to share my experience and this exciting new venture that I think we hope will make a difference. So we're definitely putting all our energy into it.
Absolutely, you're more than welcome. And once this is published, I'm going to send you a copy where you can share with your own network too.
Okay, great. Thank you,
I
Mostafa.
appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.